I'm Shannon Martin. Tonight, what happens next for the city of Toronto after Mayor John Tory announces plans to step down?
I hope that there is a discussion of what the city needs from a mayor.
Jennifer McKelvey is on deck to become deputy mayor. How soon could voters be once again heading to the polls? And who are the top contenders for the city's top job? Plus,
I'm going to miss her. We're all going to miss her.
Without her, we couldn't have become the city we became.
people gather to say goodbye to Hazel McCallion, now lying in state. Her funeral is set for Tuesday. And
married 40 years, and we're celebrating our 40th anniversary on this Marriage Sunday.
More than 200 couples getting together to celebrate their love. As part of Toronto's Marriage Sunday, their secrets to a happy and long marriage.
This is CBC Late Night News.
Hello, thanks for joining us. What now? That is one of the questions on so many minds tonight. It has been a little more than 48 hours since Toronto Mayor John Tory announced plans to step down. Friday night, he made that bombshell announcement after admitting to an affair with a former member on his staff. Tory's resignation comes at a precarious time where there's growing concern over crime on transit, homelessness, and affordability. The questions continue to pile up from what happened to what happens next. With that part of the story, let's head over to Meg Roberts. She's at Toronto City Hall again for us tonight. Hey, Meg.
Shannon, today it's been a bit quieter. Some may argue it's the calm before the storm. John Tory has not yet submitted his letter of resignation to the city clerk. That's expected to happen in the coming days. Once that letter is received, next steps will be announced. John Tory asking for privacy Friday night after announcing his plans to resign. But he did make an appearance this weekend, paying respects to former Mississauga Mayor Hazel McCallion. A spokesperson for Tory says he's working with the city manager, clerk, and deputy mayor to ensure an orderly transition in the coming days. But some say next week could be far from orderly, with a budget that's scheduled to be voted on Wednesday.
The budget process, I think, is going to get a lot more complicated than it would have been prior to all of this happening.
This political science professor says what makes it complicated is the budget is John Tory's budget. There also are controversial elements like a proposed $48 million increase to Toronto police.
Well, I think people are probably in for quite a debate, if not a fight.
Some councillors are looking forward to a discussion.
What happens when we vote when there's no gravitational pull from a mayor's office? So there is a big question.
It also could be an opportunity for mayoral candidates to define their platform ahead of the by-election, potentially creating some turmoil. City Councillor Brad Bradford hopes that's not the case.
And I think what the city needs right now is a moment of unity, leadership, bringing people together. And it would be really unfortunate if we saw us descend into a world of politics and spiking the football for personal gain.
He hasn't ruled out a run for mayor yet. Deputy Mayor Jennifer McKelvey will be taking on the leadership role until a new mayor is elected. A close source to McKelvey has told CBC News she will not be running for the job. Gil Penalosa, who ran for mayor in October, has announced he will be putting his name in, along with Blake Acton, who also ran in the last election, and Isabella Gamp, an advocate for people with disabilities and people on welfare.
I hope that there is a discussion of what the city needs from a mayor.
Now, I'm sure in the coming days we'll hear more from candidates who are putting their name forward. A political science expert that I spoke with said we can expect that by-election sometime this summer. He expects the voter turnout will be relatively high, considering this will be a high-profile race. One thing's for certain, next week is going to be a busy one. Shannon.
Thanks, Meg. She's reporting for us from City Hall. Well, Tory says he's informed the Integrity Commissioner and asked the office to review the matter. Some critics are raising questions about his personal conduct. During the press conference Friday, Tory said he developed a relationship with an employee in his office during the pandemic and that it ended by, quote, mutual consent earlier this year.
And I think he has identified it as poor judgment. And I think that is a particular concern. For any citizens within the city of Toronto, certainly for staff or other council members. So the display of his judgment, beginning the relationship, I think that is open for question. And attached to power, right? So he has situational power. That can affect whether or not he sees a relationship as consensual. Does the other person, do they see it as consensual? Do they feel it is consensual?
There is much more coverage on that developing story continuing on our website, cbc.ca/Toronto. Well, in other news tonight, remembering a political icon, Hazel McCallion. She is now lying in state. Her funeral is set for Tuesday. As we heard earlier, Mayor John Tory was one of the first dignitaries to arrive alongside current Mississauga Mayor Bonnie Crombie. Ontario Premier Doug Ford also paying tribute today at Mississauga City Hall. Among the crowd, so many people moved by Hurricane Hazel. Tyler Cheese spent the day listening to their fond memories of the political powerhouse.
I'm going to miss her. We're all going to miss her. She just stood for so much.
Government officials and Mississauga residents all came out to pay their respects for Hazel McCallion today. Many of the visitors with personal stories to share.
I was doing a project with my son, with a friend, a flat Stanley, where you bring a little paper flat Stanley all over the world and take pictures, or all over the places and take pictures. And I brought flat Stanley here one day, and she took a picture with flat Stanley. So she went out of her busy day as a mayor to take that picture for me, and that just meant the world to me.
McCallion was Mississauga's mayor for 36 years from 1978 to 2014, winning 12 consecutive elections along the way. During her time in office, she was known as an outspoken political powerhouse and developed a reputation as a feisty advocate. She's also been referred to as the architect of the city she served.
She built it from a bunch of separate communities to one thriving city, to about the 5th or 6th largest in the country.
Over the years, McCallion's impact has been felt far beyond Mississauga.
Yes. This lady is now 88 years old.
She looks great.
How long you been in office up there, Mayor?
31 years.
31 years.
But it's the personal connections that people seem to remember most.
I actually was lucky to meet her one day. I was on the way to my doctor's office and kind of worried, of course. And I left my car, and there she was right in front of me. She looked at me and she said, "And you have a really good day today." As if she knew, you know, so I will never forget this.
She was like grandma, you know. But when she got down to business, she meant business, and she could be a little feisty, and she knew what she wanted, and she knew how to get there.
Hazel was Mississauga, is Mississauga, and without her, we couldn't have become the city we became.
A state funeral is scheduled for Tuesday morning at the Paramount Fine Food Center on what would have been McCallion's 102nd birthday. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Mississauga.
McCallion will continue lying in state tomorrow. People are invited to visit Mississauga City Hall from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Now, there's also an online condolence book. A state funeral is planned for Tuesday. Now, you do need tickets. You can find out more by heading to Mississauga.ca. The funeral service will also be live streamed on the province's YouTube channel. Well, the Up Express is back in service after a temporary shutdown yesterday caused by unexpected maintenance repairs. Metrolink says its team discovered hairline cracks in the brake discs on some of the trains. For safety reasons, they decided to remove them and inspect the rest of the fleet. This morning, trains started operating again on a 30-minute service. For the latest updates, passengers are encouraged to check online ahead of time. Well, the back-and-forth battle over centuries-old trees at Osgoode Hall continues. Metrolink's facing yet another delay on its plans to cut down trees on site. You may remember last weekend the transit agency paused its plan after Ontario's Superior Court granted an interim injunction that was filed by the Law Society of Ontario. On Friday, the appeals court dismissed that motion and ruled Metrolinx could carry on. Then yesterday, another appeal. According to a group that's been protesting the development, there are concerns, quote, Indigenous rights holders have not been meaningfully consulted. Now, that hearing scheduled for Tuesday. Metrolinx has been echoing earlier statements saying it's been engaging with communities on this project for more than 2 years. It goes on to say the work is necessary to make way for a future subway stop. Well, a very exciting night for football fans and restaurants. The 57th Super Bowl just wrapping up a short time ago. The Kansas City Chiefs beating the Eagles in a nail-biter 38-35. Kansas and Toronto fans were ready to cheer on their favorite teams while eating some snacks. It's the first Super Bowl without restrictions since 2020. Some restaurant owners have been preparing for this for weeks, saying it's one of the busiest days of the year. And some organizations also decided to celebrate the event by donating meals for those in need.
A lot of the guys have been here since April of 2020, waiting to get housing, waiting to be eligible for housing. It's important for them to have a chance to just celebrate and have some fun.
It's part of a partnership between Good Shepherd Center and Rabba Fine Foods. They provided a meal for 1,000 shelter residents, as well as an area with big TVs to watch the Super Bowl. People could also participate in a raffle to win up to $100 in gift cards. Sophia joining us tonight. She was calling it the Rihanna concert, not the Super Bowl. But what a beautiful day earlier. So much sunshine. Hey, Sophia.
Yeah, Shannon, that sunshine out there today, absolutely gorgeous. And into the overnight period, it's not even that chilly, feeling like -6 only with the wind chill. And if you'd like that, yes, the rumors are all true. We fast forward to midweek when all of us across Southern Ontario are basking in the mid-teens. Yes, April-like weather. It comes with a wet weather price tag, which we'll track out for you in just a minute. But first, we got to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the demise of all of the backyard ice rinks around the region. This was me and the kids this past week on our community ice rink, which we only got 1 out of 2 good days this season before. Flash forward to today, and it's basking in all that glorious sunshine as well, and it's more of a slush fest or a pool compared to an ice rink. It might come back late into the season when winter has its second stand, but until then, we are firmly rooted in, well, spring-like weather. We hold on to the mild conditions with some light showers that come in Monday afternoon, snow showers for the north and the east. Tuesday, mild and calm, and then Wednesday, the wet and warm weather. It'll come in a 1-2 punch early Wednesday, and then late on Thursday. I'll track out all the timing for you in the long range.
Okay, see you shortly. There are now 4 unknown flying objects shot down over North American airspace, 3 of them over the last 3 days alone. And unlike the first one to be down last weekend, there is little word about where these objects originated, leading some to ask whether they're even of this earth. Here's Katie Simpson.
A rare Sunday appearance for the Prime Minister.
Good morning, everyone.
Underscoring the urgency of the situation at hand.
The safety of Canadians is our #1 priority, and that's why I made the decision to shoot down the object that was a threat to civil aviation and a potential threat to Canadians.
Justin Trudeau gave the order himself to take out an unidentified flying object over the Yukon on Saturday, one of 4 in North American airspace in the last 9 days. The latest was brought down this afternoon over Lake Huron. American and Canadian airspace was temporarily restricted, allowing a U.S. fighter jet to shoot it. The Pentagon worried it could spy on military sites and posed a threat to civilian aircraft. About 24 hours earlier, an American fighter jet took out the one over the Yukon. Debris is scattered in a remote area near Dawson City. Recovery will be difficult because of the terrain. The FBI is helping the RCMP, Canadian Armed Forces, and Indigenous communities. On Friday, over Alaskan airspace, an object the size of a small car was downed over the frigid waters of the northeastern part of the state. And off the coast of South Carolina, a week ago Saturday, a Chinese spy balloon was shot out of the sky.
What's gone on the last, 2 weeks or so, 10 days, has been nothing short of craziness.
The Pentagon now says the Chinese spy balloon is different than the other objects, and that radar is being closely scrutinized out of an abundance of caution.
I would prefer them to be trigger happy than to be permissive. What I think this shows, which is probably more important to our policy discussion here, is that we really have to declare that we're going to defend our airspace.
Politicians in both countries are seeking greater clarity from officials in the hopes that conspiracy theories don't fill the void.
I looked at social media this morning, all of a sudden massive speculation about alien invasions and, additional Chinese action or Russian action. In the absence of information, people's anxiety leads them into potentially destructive areas.
In a briefing held by the Pentagon late Sunday, they confirmed when the object that came down over Lake Huron, it likely landed in Canadian waters, they say. They're also looking at objects on a case-by-case basis and making decisions independently about whether they need to come down. The Pentagon isn't sure how these objects are staying aloft, specifically saying they're not calling them balloons for a reason. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
The number of dead from the earthquake in Turkey and Syria has now passed 33,000 people. There were more miracle rescues, but they are dwindling. Looting is now a growing concern, and Turkish authorities are now blaming poor building construction for amplifying the disaster in Syria. The UN said today a rebel group is preventing shipments across the civil war's front line. Just one route is open from the border with Turkey. This weekend, the voices of Black women were in the spotlight at Harbourfront Centre as part of the Kumba Festival. The event is called When Sisters Speak. Organizers say it's North America's largest and longest-running showcase of Black female spoken word artists. Here's more from video journalist Laura Peterson.
As a messenger, allow my prophetess lips to deliver God's most aesthetic and evocative language. Let me carry out his task, guide you through the minds of your innermost doubts with my spoken word. When you feel blinded, I'll show you how to feel for love diamonds without your limbs being unholy sacrifices. It holds me accountable. It reminds me that I'm human. It reminds me that I'm no better than anyone else and no one is any better than I am. And it definitely connects us because we can all relate to so many different things. Archangel, my kill. I'll verbally slaughter anyone who challenges your faith. This will be my first year performing in When Sisters Speak. I'm feeling a little emotional about it because it's a full circle moment for me. We invite fear and failure when it comes knocking on the door. I moved to Toronto about 3 years ago, and obviously when you first come into a new environment, you want to learn about, the scene of what you love to do and what you're passionate about. So I did some research and sent out some feelers, emails, DMs, trying to kind of get access to the spoken word scene. I was met with politeness, yes, but still kind of like a I don't know you and you don't know anyone. To go from that to being where I am today with Dwayne asking me to be a part of it 3 years later, it's a full circle moment for me. There's no place like home.
It is uncensored, it's unapologetic, it is Black girl magic, it is a roller coaster ride of experiences and emotion. Each woman gets on stage and has 20 minutes to spark a conversation within you.
Coping in color sounds like static. It's like your foot is asleep. It feels like all you can eat is the lump in your throat that you always have to swallow. Coping in color is finding similarities between you and your family. I think it's another way to kind of share that, we're all living the same life, I think, in a lot of ways, and we all have similar things to share and to tell, but I think so often we can feel like we're alone in our experiences, and especially for folks from Black and racialized communities, I think through the arts is one really, really beautiful way that we can tell our stories and kind of be like, oh my God, you've been through a similar thing, or you've experienced that, or you've felt that, but you just haven't found a way to say it, but we can say it through art. Keeping his vices within reach because her love was too much to hold in his hands, and he was never taught to hold anything in his heart anyway. So what is a woman's worth to a damaged man when she is not serving him? It was one of my big goals to be a part of the show because so many other incredible women have been a part of the show before me. Even though it's Black History Month and you can learn about a lot of pain, you can learn about a lot of trauma, there's also a lot of joy, and we all have really beautiful futures ahead of us, and I think shows like this give light to that and give voice to those futures and those voices that are not often heard, and we're not often told and given that opportunity to be shared.
Today, more than 200 couples with a collective 9,000 years of marriage celebrated their love in downtown Toronto. It's part of an annual event called Marriage Sunday. Couples renewed their vows and shared their secrets to a long and happy marriage.
Today we're celebrating what we call Marriage Sunday, and it's an annual event in the Archdiocese of Toronto where we celebrate marriage. We've got about 20 couples that are more than 60 years. So we've got one couple that's 67 years. And so when you think of all that they've seen in their journey, it's a wonderful example for us.
There's always ups and downs in life. But when you think of that spark which brought you all together, that is the main thing which will always be your thought in mind that I want to be with that person.
We've been married 40 years and we're celebrating our 40th anniversary on this Marriage Sunday. My advice would be to understanding that this love is a decision. It is not something that you instantly feel. You decide to love with that person and you decide every day to love that person and understand that none of us are perfect.
Some wise words ahead of Valentine's Day. I can't believe we're talking about double digits, Sophia, in mid-February.
Yeah, that glorious warmth midweek is what everybody wants to talk about. Let's get to that. 14s, 15s, even 13s right across the board for a short-lived warm spell midweek. And if we get enough sunshine and enough of a southerly flow, Wednesday afternoon, these temperatures could even overachieve. They'll be fluctuating throughout the day, though, with that incoming wet weather as well. Here's how it all plays out. Calm Monday and Tuesday, mild, though. That first batch of the wet weather comes in for the first half of your day on Wednesday, and then we have this really nice clearing where you'll pick up that southerly flow and maybe a little bit more sunshine before the second bout of wet weather comes in late day Thursday. And folks, those dark oranges are thunderstorms south of the border, pretty close to our Erie shoreline, so expect some heavier rain down there. Will we break records with these warm temperatures, you want to know? Well, probably not. We hit 18 in a few different regions in 2017, but the warmth coming up midweek will certainly give these impressive temperatures we got both in 2016, 2017, and 2018 a run for their money. Watch how this plays out, though, for the rest of the week. Warmth on Wednesday and then sharp cold Thursday and then back down to seasonal for Friday and into the weekend. It's as there'll be an impressive temperature spread across the province of Ontario as that cold air is incoming, and this will mean also snow for the north and then eventually back down to cooler February seasonal temperatures for the weekend. It'll be a shock to the system, though, Shannon, after all the warmth that we had midweek.
You'll get your ice rink back. We'll see you soon, Sophia. Well, that's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. We leave you with what was a big treat for Toronto hockey fans. The Leafs hosting their annual outdoor practice at Nathan Phillips Square. What a beautiful blue sky to do that under today. So many people out enjoying it. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you again next weekend.